Welcome to Thursday, boys and girls, and Mr. McGregor's YouTube Assembly. This week, we've got lots going on. I think we've got 3 clips to show you and a wee bit of citizen science. We're back in the house now, and in the kitchen, we're doing a wee bit of citizen science. This citizen science is growing an avocado tree. You can do this most big seeds. So, avocado, open it up, and you have a big seed in the middle, and you take the seed out and you put the bottom of the seed just touching some water and the top of the seed in the air near some sunlight, and hopefully within a week we'll get shoots growing at the top and roots growing down at the bottom. We're going to have our first clip. It's from Trinity. And Trinity is doing some citizen science in the back garden. It looks wonderful. Thank you, Trinity.
This is Trinity or poem from number 12 outside in the back garden. I have been planting seeds. They are doing well growing, and let me show you some ones which we planted. These up tomatoes, plantains here, sunflowers here, and one of beans here. Oh, that one's kind of sticky. And they're doing well, except from the fruiton. But the fruiton is taking its time, and then it makes the lizard tree very nice. We have planted them everywhere we can go, just in case they might grow out that way, or that way, or that way, or that way. We just don't know yet. We don't know which way it goes, but we have been experimenting. So, bye for now.
Wonderful, Trinity. Thank you. Our next clip comes from my dad, John McGregor, and he lived in Lochaber when he was a small boy and went to school in Fort William, and he eventually went up to Lochaber High School. And he remembers a lot about what Lochaber looked like, and everything was in black and white. I wonder if you recognise all the places he's talking about. Enjoy!
Perhaps you've gone by car or bus to Oban, which is an easy journey nowadays. Not much more than 50 years ago, it was very different. Not every family owned a car, and there was no bridge across Loch Leven. When the bus from Fort William reached North Ballachulish, a little ferry boat which could carry perhaps 6 cars, took you across the Narrows. It had to fight the strong currents. Then you walked half a mile to Ballachulish ferry station and waited for the train. A steam train, of course. It started from Ballachulish, but to work out where the railway ran is difficult, because the modern road has covered it up. There were 3 or 4 trains every day, and older boys and girls from places along the railway used them to go to school in Oban. Even then, these trains were old-fashioned. They had tank engines, a bit like the famous Thomas, but black and greasy, not shiny blue, and just 2 or 3 red coaches with several doors on each side. There had to be all these doors because the coaches had closed compartments. Once inside, you could not go up and down the train. But each door had a window, fixed with a big leather strap, so you could lower it and look out. By leaning out a little, which you were not supposed to do, you could watch the engine as it rounded the curves ahead. Every little boy, and some little girls too, wanted to do that. It was not a fast journey. Coming from Fort William, it could take altogether about 3 hours. The train stopped at Kintallen, Appin, Cregan, Benderloch and North Connell. From Connell Ferry, some trains went on to Oban, but at other times you waited for another train which had started from Glasgow. Perhaps you've noticed one or two of these old stations, where the buildings still stand today, though used for different things. You must have noticed the big viaducts at Loch Crern and Loch Etive, built for the railway, which are now about 120 years old.
Thanks, Dad. Really appreciate doing that clip. Moving on, before we have story time, it's shout outs. A big shout out to Linnea. Happy birthday, Linnea. Hope you had a great one. Thank you to all the boys and girls who also did a clip for Mrs. Lowe. I'm sure she really appreciated it. Now, I'm about to go out for a wee swim, but I think I'd like to introduce you to Nicholas, and Nicholas is going to introduce a story. See you next week. Bye bye.
Hello, my name is Nicholas, and today I'll be reading just a little bit from a book called Dinosaur Bob and His Adventures with the Family Lizardo by William Joyce. The Lizardos were an interesting family. Every year before the start of baseball season, they take a trip far from their beloved home in Pimlico Hills. Travel is adventure. Adventure makes you homesick, and baseball makes everything A-OK, explained Dr. Lizardo. The Lizardos always returned from their journeys with some amazing treasure. I wonder what they'll drag back this time, groused jealous Mrs. de Glumley, the mayor's wife. The Lizardos zipped about from one spot on the globe to another: London, Rome, Zanzibar, Cleveland. While they were in safari in Africa, young Scotty Lizardo wandered away from the camp and returned with a dinosaur. Look what I've caught, he said. Can we keep him? Pleaded Scotty's sisters Zelda and Velma. I don't see why not, said Dr. Lizardo. He looks kind of like my Uncle Bob, said Mrs. Lizardo. Jumbo, their bodyguard, said nothing. Scotty patted the dinosaur on the nose. Bob, he tried. The dinosaur smiled and wagged his giant tail. So, they named him Bob. With Bob along on safari, life was fun. They settled into a routine. Swimming in the morning, games of baseball in the afternoon, and songs by the campfire before bed. One night, after a rousing rendition of the Hokey Cokey, Mrs. Lizardo remarked, dancing and dinosaurs, who could ask for anything more? One day, while deep in the jungle, they came to the banks of the River Nile. Dr. Lizardo said, let's go sailing. So they made Bob into a giant ship and steered him down the river. Going by Bob is the only way to travel, sighed Zelda. Everyone began to sing, take me out to the ball game. Bob hummed along. Jumbo said nothing but tapped his foot along. It was grand. Bob and the Lizardos were becoming quite attached to one another, but they couldn't sail him all the way back to Pimlico Hills. Bob took us down the Nile in style, reasoned the doctor. It would be bad manners if we didn't return the favour. So, Dr. Lizardo booked a passage on the luxury liner. Passengers danced the conga up and down Bob's back while he played the trumpet. A gift from the shop's orchestra. I think he likes the trumpet, said Scotty. I'll write him a song, said Zelda. Every evening, the children led Bob up to his berth in the ship's smokestacks and brought him a bedtime snack. 2 peanut butter and bologna sandwiches, and 400 double Dutch chocolate cakes. After a serenade of Zelda's special song, The Ballad of Dinosaur Bob, Bob always fell asleep with a smile on his face. Their arrival in New York was quite eventful. Tugging boats blew their whistles, freighters blasted their horns, people waved from the bridges. "New York loves a show," said Mrs. Lizardo. "And Bob's the biggest show in town," said Dr. Lizardo, as they gathered up their baggage. They toured New York, and after a light lunch of 7,500 hot dogs in Central Park, they caught a train to Pimlico Hills. It was Bob's first train ride. When they arrived in Pimlico Hills, traffic stopped, dogs barked, people squealed with delight. Mrs. de Glumley, the mayor's wife, turned pea-green with envy. "That thing's a menace to the community," she grumped. "I think it's kind of nice," said the mayor meekly. The Lizardos began to sing, "Pimlico Hills, my hometown." Bob played his trumpet, the whole town sang along. The porters flocked to Lizardo's house. "Bob will scare off burglars," Dr. Lizardo told them. "And he can blow a mean trumpet," said Zelda. "He can hokey-cokey like a fool," said Velma. "And he can play baseball," shouted Scotty. Jumbo said nothing. The photographer's cameras flashed. "Lengthy lizard lands with the Lizardos." We read the headline in the paper. Bob was famous.